you know, I know a lot of people that have killed themselves, man. Like it's been rough. And I know people that, you know, they're just depressed. I don't really feel like pushing through anymore. I mean, there's plenty of people that are down, and I don't really know how to feel about it. I lost one of my good buddies, like he was there, and then like next Saturday, it's like, oh yeah, he killed himself. What could I have done, you know? Nobody can blame themselves. It's just a shame that they don't see the effect that it has on people after they leave. So it's a shame, but yeah, I've met plenty of people, and I know plenty of people that still struggle with mental illness. Fuck, man, they're so depressed, and then they hang out with their friends. You know, they laugh when they're hanging out with their buddies, they're all cool, but then you get them alone, and they're just like, fuck, man, I should really run this fucking car off this cliff, you know? Admitting that you have a problem is probably a pretty hard part, I'd say. I had a lot of issues, you know, puberty, all that. Middle school was a rough time for me. I used to wear my baggy, holy jeans. I was like the skater kid, so I got into a lot of fights, and I was in and out of the principal's office constantly. So I had counselors, and my counselors helped me a lot. I had a lot of support counselor-wise. Not really self-help stuff, though. I got a good support system. I got a dog. I got a working car. I got a decent job. Going to school soon. So yeah, I mean, my mental stuff, I mean, it's all money now, you know, that's what a lot of it comes from. Stress is money, unfortunately. I mean, I moved around a lot. I moved around a lot, California when I was a kid. I've driven across the country 3 times, like all the way across from Georgia to California, or Georgia to Washington. I've been to Spain, Germany, and Afghanistan. You know, not vacationing. I was there for work. I don't know, I was a little closer to like the reality of what the place was probably like than like the vacation areas, you know. I mean, after the 2008 recession hit, you know, it was very touch and go, paycheck to paycheck, but you know, I didn't grow up wealthy at all, man. So it was tough growing up, you know, skater kid with some holy jeans, going to some new school, because I went to a new school like every other year, so I was always having to make new friends and shit. So it was hard, yeah, it was hard when I was young. I was constantly getting bullied and stuff. I found a lot of solace in like just going off in the woods, you know, on my family's property. I take care of my physical well-being probably a lot better than I take care of my mental well-being. Depression runs in my family. My grandfather committed suicide. Suicide runs in my family. I'm pretty sure my uncle, my brother's half-brother, or not my brother's half, my father's half-brother. I'm pretty sure he committed suicide as well. My dad has always struggled with depression. I've struggled with depression. It's just kind of a rule for me, because like I thought about suicide in my younger years when things were bad, but like now that I'm an adult and I've been through some shit and I've seen the effects of it, it's like a no. Like no matter how bad things get, that's not the answer. I wanted to be a soldier, a fighter all my life. I grew up, you know, weaned on my grandfather's stories of him in World War II and then my uncles in Vietnam. I'm not afraid of death, it's just I don't want to like do it by myself. I mean, I've always been a fighter all my life, so I don't think that's the way a fighter should go out. I wasn't blind to the idea that war was a shitty thing. And I did book reports on All Quiet on the Western Front, which is one of my favorites, The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien, and The Forever War. All of which, maybe not all of which, but most of which were written by Vietnam vets. Most of those are anti-war books. I don't know what I thought. I think mentally I thought that it was part of my final education, you know? Growing up as a young man in a world that's not as violent as it used to be. People tend to forget that shit can get real south, and this really thin veneer that we have of society is like, I think that was an experience to see a combat zone. Do something else. Go on hikes. Like, what interests you that's not like sitting and rotting in your room and playing video games? And that's coming from someone who loves doing that. You know, I'm not coming at anybody. I love doing that. You do things in moderation. That's all I'm saying. You got to take care of your mental health, and you know, maybe that just means taking your dog on a walk in the morning. You know, big philosophy of mine is you can always get thrown down, you can always get knocked down, but you can never stay down. You always have to get back up. Once you stay down, you're broken. You lost. It was hard to remember what it felt like to be not like that, you know, not like fucking depressed on the daily. It was hard to remember what it was like to be happy, and sometimes you just kind of ride into it until, I don't know, you're kind of numb. Like, you don't really realize what's the good and what's the bad anymore. Just how long is the battle of maintaining mental health? how long is it? It's as long as you're around, I guess. Sometimes when people die, they just quit. There's no denying that at all. Sometimes, you know, whether it's the, you know, I had one of my close, my great aunt, Pat, her husband died, and she died soon after from a broken heart. I mean, like, some people really just give up like that. You know, I've seen it in the past, you know, people, if it's a physical injury, sometimes they give up too, and they just, like, their life force slips away. There is a thing that happens where people quit. Not always, but a lot of the time people do quit, and the battle with mental health never stops, ever. Even when you're old, man, especially when you're old, because when you got a lot of happy memories to do nothing but look back on now. I mean, you know, time has been ground to nothing but a nub at that point. So yeah, you got the battle for mental health never stops, ever. As long as you're kicking, you're battling with your mental health. I hope the battle is easier the older you get, and I hope you get more accustomed to that mental battle. But be strong. Train your mind, man. Don't be soft. Don't be weak. Take it. Don't take it easy, but take it. I don't know. The battle never stops.